are.
Yeah.
At least,
But I just didn't.
at least it's coming up.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've worn red
For those
years.
birthdays, you really have
This-
to.
I didn't think I had any red, and I like dug around in drawers, and I found one red thing.
Good morning. I have one shirt that person.
Not really my color.
What, red?
Yeah,
This is the only red thing I own.
Yeah,
That's the only reason I wore it.
yeah, I know. Well, I had to
Well,
really
I
brown.
I do have a 4th of July red shirt too.
Suzanne, I have I bought for the youth group, because we were doing a sports theme. I bought a Cub shirt that
Yeah.
is red and blue.
Shouldn't it be blue and red?
Well, but the base is red, and then it has a lot of red. I mean, I could have worn it, but
Interesting.
I had finding red.
All right.
Same here,
I have a winter
Yeah.
red sweater.
Jan is all sparkly red and red shoes. I have red shoes. I should have worn
Red Converse.
shoes. Yeah, oh, man, I have red shoes. No, I do, they're in shoe box.
I am pretty sure I don't have red shoes.
Ruby slippers?
They're actually way black ones. I thought Chris, my son. Okay, I never wore them.
Oh.
So.
Because you can see Dorothy.
That was so sweet. Ah.
I almost bought some red things.
See you later.
Well, yeah, get a red dress.
Yeah,
What is that?
that should be done by somebody in the office anyway,
What?
later, so later person, because if
Right.
something goes wrong,
Right.
it would be nice. And then they can work on it.
Right.
Or call somebody in to work.
Right.
I know.
And Patty is planning to Zoom in. So,
I'm not sure I have paid for it. I'm pretty sure I have an extra one, but I will look. I promise I'll do it. Yeah.
All right.
Not one there. Certainly, I have two. Ha, ha, ha.
Okay,
Rebecca.
yeah, so it's us here. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Are you
Patty,
running like
Patty
crazy?
said, huh?
Are you running around like crazy because you said West has
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that. It's
I am
a little
sure I was at a
crazy
meeting.
to not know what you're doing.
I
until
know, with the
Thursday.
way sports are, that's, I know, I keep hearing that from people, because they're like, Saturday night, you know,
Yeah,
okay, well, we just found out that
we just
they made the
found out
finals
what
and they're.
yeah, this is his last game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
David's taking over and I'm gonna leave them there, but yeah. He should be good for the summer. Stella, I deactivated for acolyting only because she's lifeguarding.
Yeah, yeah, you said that, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That makes
I saw
sense,
that.
yeah.
She'll be back though after that.
Yeah.
So I have information here, the Lombard Parade, the Lilac Parade.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from the South Shore Drill Team.
Oh, they were so good.
Okay, I
Yeah.
have information about them. If anybody wants to send them money, I'm sure they can.
They were the best of the entire, like,
Certainly,
parade.
yes, the best rehearsed, the best sounding, the most fun to watch.
There we go.
Yeah.
Patty.
And their performance, like, we were right in front of the
I love
library.
your.
And we felt, yes,
Good.
but they were one of the only ones, like, we were like half a block off, it seemed, from everyone else, but they kept it going.
We were in front of the cemetery, because
Okay.
it's very close to my daughter's.
I like your red.
Was
Tanya.
that a good spot?
you. Well, no, because it's just before
We're
they
kind of
start. Some of them have started their performance,
I-
but most of them
This
haven't.
was the only red in my house.
But it's real close to the bathroom.
That is key, that is key.
Mine's a cardigan. So.
We,
This thing is-
my daughter was at the front of the parade, but my son was at the back of the parade.
You really should buy a red shirt.
I know.
We never get it right.
Yeah.
We only have one
Leave
red
it.
child. in
Yeah,
the
right?
now,
Do
and
something.
I'm trying to think what she does. She doesn't play any instrument,
Yeah.
so she was probably with the Lombardi band doing.
Oh, the
something.
flags and
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
We
right.
have one year where they're actually the same band, and so we won't have to worry about all of them.
All right, yeah, we're about 9:40. I think it'll be nice to start. And Patty is on Zoom. Thank you. You want to try talking? Let's see if we can hear you.
Yeah, hi guys. Looks like I'm sending off audio. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Awesome. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Lovely. Do you want to do a standard introduction or should I just start?
I can do an introduction. Today is the Pentecost Sunday, March 4th, May 24th. And we are talking about leadership in the church and why it might be worthwhile to say yes when asked. And so we have with us, our current warden, Josh O'Shea, our senior warden, Rebecca, Fortner, like your last name, our, junior, warden, and Patty, our retired
Yep.
senior warden.
Yep.
And probably several more of us in the room that have been a warden or on the vestry or in some leadership role.
Or worse, being married to. them.
Married. Yeah,
And then all the other stuff, but I wasn't ever.
yeah.
Or worse, being one and married to one.
Yeah, has anybody else been a warden? Right? Yep, okay.
No.
No, okay.
Been on
Cool.
vestry.
Yep, in vestry.
Let's hear it for the
Yep,
vestry.
and number two, right. Yep, exactly. Okay, yep, at other parishes, other people here, I know Hal and Steve, who are in leadership in a different parish.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, I thought it would be good to start with kind of three references, just like the officiality of it. One of them is from the Episcopal Church website dictionary. So a couple of highlights that I wrote down from that is that there are always two at each time, the senior and the junior, and for 1 year each. And you do kind of like a staggered move on. So the one who's coming on learns from the one who went before. And just like a lot of things within our tradition, there's a lot about there is canon law, but also there is local custom practices, you know, the kind of mood, the culture. So there's a lot about that. So this website emphasizes that the senior is the connection between the rector and the congregation. And this said, the junior is kind of like focused on the buildings and grounds, which I thought was interesting.
Not our tradition.
Let's do that. That's exactly where I was going. So at our parish, in our culture, it's we've got a buildings and grounds crew. We've got a sexton who pays attention to the building. I'm super good at this because that was a segue into my other location, which is Church of England history for the two positions. And one of them, there are two sources that I emphasize. One of them is the Vital Practice website, the Episcopal Church. What does the F stand for? I didn't write the ECF, the Vital Practice website.
Not there.
Which emphasizes the unlocking the building for worship use. Right, so that was one early use of it, and then ensuring that worship continues in case of the absence of clergy. So
Yeah.
that is
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Been
So
there,
we're-
done that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I definitely want to talk about that if you want to talk about that.
When it was on
Yeah.
the vestry, all the vestry members
Yeah.
had to take turns coming and making sure all the doors were locked at night,
Okay, all right, yeah,
which was,
How many doors were there?
there are a lot. There are 8 doors of the
Yeah.
church. And then there were like doors that needed to be opened. It was very confusing.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a hard thing.
So, you could say not only local custom, but evolution of local custom. The other emphasis on a historical perspective is keeping the peace during services, right? So that's my joke,
Oh, that's
right?
pretty
When I came down to say what we're going to talk about. So also in Church of England, most people probably know there was a lot more kind of like secular or civil function that parishes played. There's much less the idea of separation of church and state in England for the Church of England, such that wardens actually, in many locations, had the authority and the powers, maybe a big stick, maybe a group of people, to fine or arrest rabble-rousers and hooligans on church property or the parish in general. The parish wouldn't, in that case, isn't just like like, what is the property that, like, the real estate that belongs to this church, but in that sense, a parish could include the estate of a lord, right? So this is like,
Oh.
that's where, so the jokes about, oh, warden, you know, we think in American parlance, it has to do with like a prison or something. That's not terribly far off from Church of England function in the past.
That helps me understand why they use that term.
Yes. I
Whenever I say
wondered
that to somebody, they're like, warden, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Yeah, what is it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because the parallels, as I understand it, with, you know, like modern business practices is the vestry is the board, and then the wardens are like officers, right? That's kind of more how, I guess you could say we function a little more like that here, but historically, it's not quite that, clean a parallel to that kind of business structure. Another interesting piece I found, about Church of England history for warden position are keeping extensive records of every movable object of church property. John, good for us librarians, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Get
have
that.
that, we have a book with that in it.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody keeps it up now.
So
probably.
we did
Yeah.
a church audit, we did an
Yeah.
audit this year, and we did, I mean, not every book, I don't think, but we did
Yeah.
a lot of, all the property in each room.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's good for insurance.
right.
I think
yeah.
that's why we,
That's
I think that's why we did it. Uh-huh.
You can't, you have to prove that you have
Yeah.
it.
You did that too?
I did that at Church of Our Savior in Lincoln Park, and it was for reinsuring everything, but it was the stained glass windows, we had to get a specialist.
Oh, wow.
And then I had a special
Yeah.
consultant who evaluated all the silver, all the art,
Yep.
every valuable item, and then we got a quote and reinsurance. And that was my project.
Yeah.
It took like a month.
Right.
It did.
Yeah. and
Recruit this woman.
I'm hearing,
Yeah.
I'm hearing, yeah,
They are
I'm hearing,
They are.
future
They are
recruit
Oh,
here.
yeah, well,
Yeah. So,
You're like, rewind.
so we've got that kind of functionality, but like any other kind of role, whether it's employment or volunteering, there's the job title, the job description, and then there's what are the needs that arise, and how does each person bring their personality to it. So I think I'd like, Patty to give us a little bit here about her perspective on it. And I want to make sure to come back to, again, like May mentioned something. I don't know if you want to bring that up again, but I want to make sure to put a note, a bookmark.
Did you make a note of what I said?
Yeah, I did. Yes,
Okay, all right.
yes.
That's fine.
But yeah, Patty, I thought maybe you could give why you accepted and how you felt about the role. And then I know you've got your other, this wonderful note that you gave to other wardens, and go ahead.
Okay, so why did I accept and what did I like about the role? That's kind of the question.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, just to preface that, George asked me, I think a couple of times, and I said no at first, right? And I think probably that's many of our experience, but I said, no, but ask me again next year. No, but ask me again next year. Because that gave me the time to think about whether or not I wanted to do it. And I said yes because, well, for me, it was I grew up in the Catholic Church. One of the big reasons I said yes was that I thought it was pretty cool that I was being asked to take a leadership position in the church as a woman.
Right.
So I was excited about that. And I thought, you know, that's something that I kind of had always thought would be cool, but I never thought I would get the chance being Catholic for so many years. So that was great. And that was a big reason why I said yes. I also said yes because I wanted to work with George, and then I said yes because I think that had been a member of St. Mark's for I think 5 years when he asked me, or when I accepted being on the vestry. And I did a year on the vestry without being warden first. And I thought it was a great way to get to know the different things the church does. And of course we can read about the programs and things like that, but I thought it was a really great experience for me to understand the inner workings of the church, how it functions, and the amount of impact that an individual can have. And obviously, it's a huge team effort, but I liked the idea of being tapped for that impact. And I found that my impact as the senior warden was, or as junior warden, and on the vestry, was so large. I loved being, getting to meet with George regularly, and getting to know him more. And I loved getting to know the other wardens, Andrew when I was junior warden, and Josh when I was senior warden. So overall, it was just a wonderful experience to really feel that impact and see the inner workings of the church. I think it's a great introduction to consider many different avenues, whether you are curious about what specific type of ministry is relevant to you, or even if you're considering, maybe taking, becoming a clergy, or doing the discernment for becoming clergy yourself. I think that being on the vestry is such a great way to sample things and to witness what goes on, and also to see the reality of what it takes to put all of these programs into place. And it's just been, I loved it. So it was really good.
You did everything yourself, right? All on your own. Right?
Right. Yeah, of course, like it takes a village to do anything, including, all of the church programs. But I also, was really supported by my husband, Alex, who's awesome. And, we have little kids. I had a baby during when I was senior warden. I remember coming to the meetings with I guess I had it when I was a junior warden, but I remember coming to the meetings and he was just a little newborn, and he would just sit there, come to our vestry meetings too. So maybe he'll do it when he grows up as well.
Rebecca, I'll give you a second to think here, and which is by me saying I was incredibly relieved when I kept reminding myself, my point is to make connections, right? So I'll talk a little bit more about, why I said yes and how I got to that point and how I'm doing it. But constantly, my point is to make connections. My point is to give what I have, and I can't give what I don't have, but making connections between people. I'm not carrying anything on my own. Nobody ever is. Yeah. So Rebecca, why did you can do the background too like that, but why did you say yes, and what's it like doing it?
I'll say, so I've been a member of St. Mark's, I want to say, for at least 3 years. That might be more than that. My daughter was confirmed 2 years ago, so I kind of go by that. So it's probably 3+ years.
I think you were here before that.
We were here well before that too, but I can't place it.
Right.
So for a few years, I will say I was surprised so I'd been on the vestry, so I was already a vestry member. I was surprised when George called and asked me about being a warden. And I sort of, we've all heard probably George talk about the 2 yeses and the 2 nos, like the good yes, the bad yes, and so forth. And I think I made a good yes, but also very much leaning on, well, if you think I can do it, then I'll do it, and also everything Patty said as far as like, this is a group effort. And I know that certainly of everyone in this room, I probably have the least amount of knowledge. And so I acknowledge that all the time. Like, I will go to Joyce and be like, tell me about this. Like, what, and so I know that it is a huge group effort. I felt more confident seeing Patty and the wonderful job she did, and then knowing that I'd be working with Josh, and he does a great job too. And like Patty said, I think it's a great way to just get to know more people, get to know how we do things. Everything is such a group effort. I love meeting with Josh and George monthly. We have great conversations and just very productive. George can make an agenda and like stick to it. Like in an hour, we've gone through a 2-page agenda. It's been really gratifying in that way. My family jokes because I used to do, I'm sure like many of us, a lot of PTA stuff. And then I was like, I'm done with that. And now they're like, and you just took something else on. But I will say I love this way more than PTA. And I come, like Patty, I come from a pretty Catholic family of like nuns and deacons and so forth, and just what I took from that as a kid is my grandmother and my family were always sort of participating, and I think that that is a huge part of being a member of a church. It's not just going, it's actually acting and participating, and I keep all of that in mind to sort of balance out my lack of confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, part of the structure of our local custom is wardens typical, like the core of it is gonna be the vestry meeting, the meeting with the rector to prepare for the vestry and to talk about any other church business that would be appropriate in that, at that moment, whether it's about projects or, like hiring, that kind of stuff. And then the other one is the finance committee. That's the other big piece. So, when it comes to the official job description, that's the way that we do it here is either the finance committee also meets once a month. So that's kind of how I see the core meetings. And then the wardens can talk about, do both go to each meeting? Do we trade off? Is it every other? Do we just talk and see who's available at that time? And that's important to me because when I was first approached, my history being more of a Baptist, non-denominational setting. So, I mean, I've been here over 10 years and I was on the vestry. My term ended like 2018. No, 2020. So it was like right at the beginning of the pandemic, I think. So my time between being on vestry and the warden was longer, and I think that was good for me. And so to tie back to where my religious history piece comes from is that there were even more amorphous kind of roles in the churches where I grew up in, but more importantly, my character, my personality that stayed with me up until I'm still working on it, is just overcommitting. I'm supposed to be doing everything all the time. That's stretching, and
You're the only person in this
right?
room that has that. I haven't, can you talk more about, I don't know what that means.
And so aside from all the tragedy that happened with it, the best thing for the pandemic was that it stopped me doing everything. And then I started and said, what is actually important to me? And so that was one of the things when talking with George and my thinking about accepting the warden position, I was like, okay, what's our core pieces? What do we expected? And then I'm going to make my decisions about how much I'm going to do around that.
Yeah.
Right. So that, again, here's the job title, here's the job description, what are the needs of the position, and what are your strengths? What can you actually do? So those are the things that keep me focused. And I also had the, why are you asking me? I can't do that mentality. But just like for everything that I do as an acolyte, I see for me, the position itself is special. Like I am very honored to serve you as a warden. That is, I find that a deeply meaningful and spiritual position. So I'm gonna tell you that. Just like, again, like how I acolyte, the activities and the work that I do up there is an honor for me. And it's an act of prayer, right? Those are my acts of worship. When I open and close the communion gates, that is an act of worship for me. So making sure that things are going. Part of my management style, I guess you could say, is just enough action or intervention to get a good outcome, right? Just enough, just a little bit. Like I don't need to come in, I don't need to know everything. That's one of the things why I brought up the know everything for you, Patty, is like, do you need to know everything about everything all the time that everybody's doing? Because that's not helpful. But also,
Possible.
right, yeah. So there's, especially when accepting and then starting, there was a lot of that in there. About me having to map out what is important to me and how do I want to do the job, which is how hopefully everybody's able, when they accept a volunteer position or an employment position, can be like, all right, here are the needs. And how am I going to approach doing this, which I think is the best way to find fulfillment and to get energy instead of have energy sucked out.
A good way of putting it.
Yeah, to get it. So those were very important things to me. And just knowing that I can, having Patty as my senior, I already admired her. I liked the way that I've seen her operated, and I liked her organization and communication styles. So then it's not half of it, a good chunk of it is who are you going to be working with, right? What is the people you're going to be around? And so getting to know, and she sat down with me for at least one meeting and to talk about it, after I got the offer from George. And then she told me why she wanted me as her junior. And I was like, all right, he thinks I can, she thinks I can. Let's give this a try. And what is everything else in life but not, let's give it a try. Let's see.
There's
so-
a Georgie Award upstairs.
There you go.
Just give it a.
Let's give it a try.
Give it a try.
Yeah, yep. So hey Sue, glad you're here. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Sue.
No.
Yeah, so any thoughts or any questions so far? We can keep kind of.
See you later.
We've got our wardens have our topics that we want to bring in. Patty or Rebecca, you want to say anything? No? Okay. Yep.
One thing that you mentioned, is that knowing that Patty wanted, I think my experience was George asked me, when I was a junior warden, who would you like to have be a senior warden with you?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that happened with you, Patty, but I think that's helpful too, to kind of know that you're kind of gonna be working with somebody you feel that you can work with.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I said Leo,
Yeah.
and George
Yeah.
said he won't do it.
There you go.
He asked him and he said yes.
That's the adjustment.
Well, that's a great comment, Joyce. I'll add something to that because I think that one of the special things about taking on a leadership role in the vestry and especially being a warden, I've served on different boards and so much of what board service ends up being is it's a lot of logistics, right? It's a lot of how to get things done and how to accomplish the mission of the organization, right? So depending on the organization, that's all different. But what I think is really unique about being a warden and on the vestry is that there is this social and spiritual components. So you are talking about the people in the church and the spiritual aspect of leadership quite regularly. And that's it's really great to tap into that. So whether it's like thinking about who you want to work with, or even just, how to push the envelope to get people to have a deeper spiritual connection to their church experience, that's really unique to the vestry setup versus like a job or other types of volunteer service, I think, which is great.
Oh, right. Yeah, say your.
Well, okay, there are a couple things here. There's a good yes, and there's a good no, and a bad yes and a bad no.
Explain.
So should we go through those?
Yeah.
So the bad no is when you say no without really thinking about it, and you just haven't considered it. A good no is when you've really thought it through and you're like, this is not the right time, or this is not the match for me, and you say no. And that's really good. So a bad yes is when you you just say, okay, I'll do it. And then you are just failing at it because you didn't have time and you really weren't interested in it, but you said yes because you felt guilty, or I don't know. And then the good yes is when you have really thought about it and you're like, yes, I'm going to do this. And you're not sure. You might not be sure. You might be worried. You might can I do this? That's all part of a good yes. So that's does that make sense?
Yeah, it applies to a lot of things.
Yep.
Mhm.
Then,
Yep.
I've got the 3-no theory. Do you wanna know what that is?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
No, no,
When you're asking.
no, no.
Yeah.
If you're asking somebody to do something, you call them up and you don't hear from them. So you have to try again. And you might email them this time or call them and you don't hear back. And then the third time, it's really good to contact people 3 times, either by email, text, or phone. And if the third time you don't hear from them, leave them alone.
Yeah.
That's the 3 no's, right? But, you know, a lot of people will call, I sent them an email and I never heard back. That is really not,
Right.
you know what, people lose emails. They saw it, but they didn't get to it. I mean, does anybody do that? So, and you send
No.
another,
No.
you send another email, or you call, and then the third time, you know, like, oh, I need to do that. So, anyway, that's another good rule, the 3 no's.
And what's really good about George is he will call anybody. I don't really like calling people, and so I have to really be pushed to call people.
Mhm.
I have a
I think
question.
I've called all of you.
I have a question for Rebecca and Josh, and Patty, you can answer independently. If one is, I am totally unprepared for this and I cannot do it. And 10 is I know everything there is, I know about this. Where do you find yourself kind of weighing in at the point you've been asked to take on the role?
I would put myself in the middle, because I think in the middle, because I think I do have ideas and thoughts and, you know, opinions on stuff informed by, you know, being involved, but also coming from different places. And so I think I'd put myself in the middle on there, but always sort of being aware of, I need to understand the background, the context, the history, like what's been done, what's worked, what hasn't been worked, so that, or hasn't worked. So that would be like the unknown part, I think. And I think part of my good yes was knowing that there would always be that. Like there would always be a source of, many sources of finding out what's been done, what's the context, what's the background. So I feel more confident knowing that, but I put myself kind of in the middle.
Patty?
I felt pretty confident going into it, so I'd probably skew more towards the 10, not saying that I didn't know what was going to happen, but you know, if you I look at this church and I guess a lot of organizations in the same light as like the rest of society, right? Like nothing crazy is going to happen, and whatever happens, you know, you're on this ship and it's a good ship. You know, you're not going to sink it. So I felt pretty confident going in that even if I didn't know everything, we would figure it out. And we did. I mean, there were definitely some surprises. But you know, we figured it out and we talked to each other. And so the think tank, the social aspect of this really helped us from making any, you know, serious errors, and to really support each other and make the right decisions. So I felt pretty good about it. I maybe I tend a little bit towards being overconfident than I should, but it's good. It was good.
Yeah. So my 2 caveats, one is chronology and the other is supplement. All right. So starting it the first couple of months, probably from when I said yes, probably to March 4. And the supplement is the people who I respect asked me to. So that was like, done. Okay, push it right through. And then my note that I just took here is that it is that social aspect, whether it's the vestry, whether it's us sitting here, whether it's the worship, but specifically the meetings that the wardens have with rectors, it's a conversation. So I did a lot of listening for those conversations. And I was confident that when I had a question that I knew was like, could be empowering to me to get the answer for, or that I felt was helpful for the greater conversation, then I'd ask it. And I didn't have to do more than that. So that was a big part of my saying yes, my hesitant but reflected yes. was
I think-
knowing that those the
Sorry.
group there. And so that's also what helped me push now to like, I'd say like 8. I'm up in that 8, and then with that extra supplement of the guy got good people, to do it.
I think Patty saying, we're not gonna sink the ship.
Yeah.
Boost me a bunch there.
Yeah.
Because we're not, like, there's so much knowledge and there's so much community and there's so many people willing to participate that, like, exactly what Patty said, like, we're not gonna sink the ship because there's too much going the other direction, you know, like lifting us up, so.
Seems you have to have a lot of flexibility
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and time to think.
Yeah, mostly with knowing that there's sometimes we kind of have to make a decision. Whether and that could either be, do I personally have to move quickly? Or is this something that we have to decide either as a community or something that comes up that needs more quick? But overall, yes, lots of flexibility, because I think that especially the 3 of us like our structures, we like our schedules, we like our timetables, we like clear expectations, but also knowing that we gotta, that didn't happen, so let's do this thing. So yes.
Also knowing there might be a text like, hey, what do we do about this?
Yeah.
And like, but I feel like we have a very good communication pattern with that we all answer and give our input and figure stuff out from there, so.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that.
That's helpful, thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks.
How does the vestry decide on agenda and priorities?
Yeah. So there are always running projects, whether it's the capital campaign, or how, kind of one of the next ephemeral things is how are we integrating things like preschool and PDO to make sure that they know they can come to Sunday opportunities. So there are things that are ongoing that either past have brought up as concepts or as concrete projects that we need to keep on the table. Sometimes there are opportunities that come up. So let's say, and do you mean like let's say a vestry person's tenure during their time, or do you mean like what just happens on the evening? No,
I mean, at a
both.
meeting.
Yeah, at a meeting. So other times we know that the bishop is coming on Sunday and we need her to have a discussion with us. So yeah.
And I think to Tanya's question,
Mhm.
the wardens meet with George prior to the
Yeah,
vestry
yeah.
meeting to kind of determine the agenda, and so they
So
discuss.
George determines the agenda?
Well, he's probably more aware of all the issues in the church than anybody. And so he with the wardens, it's not that George is, I don't believe that George is like, we've got to do this, right? It's a discussion.
There have been times where I push something where we need to talk about this because of information that I've had or because of circumstances. And I might not know the whole picture, but again, I have to take that risk and make a decision about, do I feel that something should come up with this? So, but that's in the conversation. Exactly, right. So typically on the calendar, there's the wardens and rector meeting and then 1 or 2 weeks and then the vestry meeting. And in between that time is kind of how we're talking about what we're going to be putting on, what we're talking about, or again, looking at the list of projects that are ongoing. So with the Narthex, we've had Narthex updates that are on the agenda for like every 3rd vestry meeting so far, because it's taken that time to get information. So if something comes up either to our knowledge that we need to bring up, something comes to George's knowledge that we need to bring up. Because as you probably know, what's written on the agenda that gets put at the vestry meeting is not limiting us to the scope of our discussion. Yeah. Did you have a follow-up?
George writes the agenda for at least when I was working with him, he writes the agenda for the meeting with the wardens. And from that agenda, we generate the agenda for the vestry meeting. So that really originates with George, and then it's like edited and fleshed out. And then many times the vestry meetings go completely off topic and we end up talking about something not even on the agenda. So, you know,
Does the vestry ever have a retreat?
Yes, the question is, does the vestry have a retreat? Yep. Yeah, so, for the 2026, session, I don't know what we call this, for 2026, we all met at, Edsheim Congregation in Lombard. They hosted us. And that was a little bit of team building. That was like talking about the vision and the function of why we're all there. We did introductions and backgrounds and interest. So kind of working to build a cohesion in there. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I'm struck with listening to the three of you and even George and Joyce. You're all talking about a functional system. Yeah.
Why would you think that?
You haven't been at the meeting.
Oh, well, then,
Coffee hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, there aren't these secrets that you're dancing around. You know, I mean, you can feel that, you
Good.
know, like stuff's out in the open and whatever's a problem, we're gonna talk about it and figure it out. And not that everything's public all the time, but you know what I'm saying, that
Yeah.
there's appropriate boundaries, you know. But that things work, people work together. You can ask questions, you can go off topic, whatever, you
Yeah.
know. That's not a detail,
No,
you know.
no.
And it
it's
says something about the
consistent.
culture.
Yeah, I felt that way since I've been on the vestry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's going on 3 years, probably, and I feel like even with changes of members and stuff, everything sort of does
Mhm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
And vestry meetings are open to anybody, right? And you can join on Zoom or in person, right? Because all the meetings are on Zoom.
Finance committee too.
And
Mhm.
And not, we don't get many people coming, you know, it's like, come to the vestry meeting, and they're like, I'm going to the dentist instead. All right, you know, our meetings are pretty well run, I mean, they typically are about an hour and a half. Sometimes they go 2 hours, which is not great, because I know at night, you know, people are tired, and, you know, our best thinking is
Mhm.
probably done in an hour,
Mhm.
but it's an hour and a half.
Yeah,
And, but I think, you know, this idea of like being transparent is so important, you know, it's just healthy, you know?
I want to make sure to ask May what, the warden without a rector, do you want to talk about that?
Well, how about when the rector left?
That's what I'm,
That was really a bad time.
yeah,
It was a very difficult time. I can't, but the bishop came in and helped. I mean, truly, because Dick was the senior warden.
yeah,
And there were two because the church was getting ready for a split. So there were two
Yeah.
senior wardens.
oh, man.
But I will say
Like,
that,
I'm sorry to interrupt, like functioning at the same time, but like.
well, the church was not functioning. as
Right,
well
right,
at that
okay.
time.
Yeah.
So we'll just put it that
Yeah.
way. It was a difficult time. It was a very difficult time.
Was it kind of like two popes where like these people are like, this is my word. This is my
Our annual meeting, it
well-
was like there were two, we
Yeah.
sat on different
Two sides,
sides.
different
Yeah,
rooms,
it was
and-
very
It was
divided.
difficult. It was very, very.
We call it the troubles.
Yeah.
You're talking 03.
Yes,
Was that
well,
the
it was
year?
really, it was
I don't remember the year. I don't remember the
It was
year.
around,
It
Right before George got.
it was,
It had to do
it
with,
had to do with Gene Robinson, yes.
yeah.
And it might have been 04, when this
Yeah.
vestry, when.
They split. I
when
mean,
they-
there were two wardens, each of them for a while. They thought maybe that they could save the parish by having two wardens, one, each representing one side of the argument.
Yeah,
And, it didn't work. And then the side that left, they decided it was time to leave.
yeah,
They were not forced out by any stretch of the imagination.
right,
I think, I think actually, my recollection, and correct me if I'm wrong, part of why they decided to leave is they expected that their candidate would sweep the
Oh, I don't know about that.
vestry, you know, the
The
election.
Yeah,
And because we had 6 ballots
wow.
in order to,
Yeah.
select a vestry.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was
paper or
paper,
like?
paper ballots
paper
that
ballots,
then got
And wait,
tabulated.
and then what finally did it was some people filled out their ballot ahead of time and they had another appointment and they left. And
Ooh,
finally, somebody in the back raised their hand and said, you know, there's people submitting ballots that were filled out previously.
Yeah.
And that's, you don't remember that?
I didn't know that.
I remember
Sure.
that.
I
I
think you
remember
can't
that.
take the time out of your life to be here for a meeting.
Well, they were there,
Oh,
but
you're
they
right.
left. They had to go somewhere else.
Right,
I'm sure it was someplace very
that was the
important.
feeling, right?
But,
Just
yeah,
set the scenario a little bit. First time, I think 2004,
I don't remember.
Tanya and I
the date.
came to St. Mark's for the first time, came to a service. There were people in this side, there were people weeping.
Oh.
The atmosphere, you've got to cut with a knife. It was-
And we
Yeah.
were new to
And we were new, we didn't know what was going on.
It's like, what's going on here?
We had no clue, so we left.
We had no idea what was happening. Except we kind of knew because of
Oh, yeah, it was,
the national news.
Right.
it
Yeah.
was really